Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So I get hundreds of messages, if not thousands, every single month, questions from you. So I thought to do a casual sit down, answering one-on-one question, as many questions as I have time for today. And hopefully that will help you move forward on your journey. So, Bismillah. The first question reads, I don't know what skills I have. How do I even start? Now, that's a question I get quite a lot. I would say there's one of two things happening here. Either you're having a lot of imposter syndrome, you actually have skills, experiences, great ideas. However, you're allowing that voice in your head to tell you that you're not good enough. I went through that. I have, even with a master's degree in international business, a bachelor's degree in marketing, I kept telling myself that I had nothing to offer. So either that's happening, or you actually don't have really anything to offer. And in that case, I'd say learn a skill, much like our sister Nusayba, who you might have seen me on with, learned the skill, meaning she learned Arabic, and now she's teaching Arabic, and she started her Arabic Institute. So regardless of which one it is, if it's the imposter syndrome or if it's that you actually don't have a skill, you have to identify what it is and take action from there. Is it to work on those limiting beliefs, or is it to learn a skill that you can later monetize? Question number 2, do I need a niche or can I start without one? This one is a very interesting one because I think as beginners, you hear this idea that you have to find a niche first. And I would say keep it much simpler than that. Identify that one woman that you want to help overcome her one problem. So rather than thinking about niche like wealth, health, think about it as that one woman that you truly want to help overcome something. Maybe it's a past edition of yourself. Maybe a few years ago, you were in a particular situation where you were struggling with certain things, and you've now overcome that, and you're able to help someone else overcome that now. So I would say it's much simpler for beginners to think about it like that, because when you think about a niche, it seems like this group of people, and communicating with a group of people is much harder than communicating with one particular woman that you know, and you see her as a person. Her name is Aisha. She's 25 years old. She's struggling with postpartum depression, right? Rather than there's this group of people in the health niche, right? So think about that one woman that you want to help overcome her one problem. What if I feel like everyone already started before me? That's great, actually, if everyone started before you. Now, that everyone started before you doesn't mean that everyone is doing what you intend to do. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is, even if it was, competition is actually a good thing because competition leads us to become better editions of ourselves. If you're that big shark in the ocean and you're not competing with anyone, it's much harder to become a better edition of yourself. It's much harder to become a better businesswoman. It's much harder you have no reason to push yourself to learn more in marketing and sales, or learn more about building funnels. So competition is actually a really good thing, and often competition just shows that there's a real need in the market. So I'd say that that's actually a great sign. And most likely, not everyone is doing what you're doing. So be in a community of other sisters who's also building businesses, because that's the most powerful thing, being in a network with other people who have the same agenda, the same aim as you. It's so motivating. You can learn so much from other sisters. Do I need a big following for people to want what I'm selling? Do you need a big following? I would say absolutely not. And this is like the biggest misconception in the market. So I had a conversation with Sister J, who had over 75,000 followers on a Face Forward account. And she she wasn't making money. Then she started a completely new account, started from zero with a Faceless account, and she was making $5,000 a month. So you really don't need a big account. And often big numbers is just a smoking screen. What you really need is unique positioning and good messaging and really, really understanding the psychographics of your customer avatar. Meaning you need to understand and be able to mirror the emotional reality of the person that you want to help. That is what's gonna get you results. Now think about it. If you probably have friends, right? And you naturally kind of lean towards certain friends for sharing certain things. Your issues with your parents or your husband or whatever it might be, you naturally lean towards them because they are actually the best people at mirroring your emotional reality. That's all they're doing. I mean, they're caring, of course, but they're good at understanding you. They're like a mirror to you. And it's the same with content and converting content, meaning you're creating content, you're actually making money out of it. It comes from understanding the customer avatar and being able to mirror her emotionally. So a person naturally from human psyche, they trust a person who understands their problem. So if you're really good at mirroring back at me my problems, I naturally trust you with the solution. Because naturally, if someone really understands the problem, you naturally think that they also have the solution. So that's what I would focus on if I'm a beginner. I feel overwhelmed. What's the first step? That's a lot of us feel overwhelmed, and that's completely natural. Anything that's new is scary. And I would say that the easiest way to get results is to grab someone who has achieved what you want to achieve and join their program or their course or their container, whatever it might be. That's what I would say, grab me, grab someone else, but it's honestly the fastest way to get results. Someone that has proven results for themselves and for others. Other than that, I would really try to keep in my lane and focus on what I'm currently doing. So some of you might have heard about the 5 Ps. And one of the Ps is the plan. So there's a saying, a lot of entrepreneurs will say, stick to the 5 Ps for 1 year in order to grow your business to 6 figures. And then after that, was it 6 figures or was it 7? I think it was 6. Anyways, after that, you can kind of pivot. So one of the people that you will hear kind of back that idea is Maria Vent, who is one of the biggest creators in the digital space, and most successful creators, that is, in the digital space. And the P of plan is sticking to what you put down as a plan and not getting drawn to this or drawn to that because you see someone else doing something, you see another sister doing something that looks like, wow, she's having success with that, I should try that as well. That would never work because you will constantly just be jumping from one thing to the other. So I would say create a plan that is actually, a proven plan. So if you get it from someone else or if you, really have done your research on what works, what doesn't work, create that plan, stick to it. And that way you can also avoid getting overwhelmed. Okay, so what makes an offer feel obvious to someone who's scrolling? I'd say the emotional connection to, I see this offer and I see the offer offering me the opportunity to step into the person, the identity that I want to become. So as a business coach, I will obviously sign up with other business coaches to learn how to scale my business from 6 to 7 figures, from 7 to 8 figures, etc. And often, if that coach is good at explaining or showing how he or she is able to take me from my current situation over to my desired outcome and stepping into becoming that person that I want to be, because I want to be a 7, 8-figure business woman, entrepreneur, boss, Muslima, then if I see myself in that desirable identity, then I would really sign up with that person. So I think being able to understand deeply the pain points and the desires of your avatar, of the person, of the woman that you want to support, and being able to paint that picture, because just saying I can offer you A, B, and C, meaning I can just offer you, features will never sell. People buy benefits and the future edition of themselves. So if you can paint the picture of who I'm becoming by entering your program, I think that will make the person who's scrolling stop for your offer. How do I explain what I do without rambling? So there's this, in entrepreneurship, in business, you'll always learn about the elevator pitch, right? The elevator pitch is you go into an elevator, you have 20 seconds to convince someone of what you're doing. I would practice that. You have 20 seconds, put the alarm clock or the timer on, and in 20 seconds, convey to the other person or to yourself in the mirror the desirable outcome that person wants. Meaning, obviously, you have to understand, again, the desires of your avatar, and you have to be able to convey that with concise words, because the words we choose carry meaning. So not going on a rant of fluffy words and words that have no meaning. Try to paint a picture of exactly how you can help this person achieve their desired outcome. And it takes practice, like messaging, public speaking. It's not easy. It doesn't happen overnight, but you have to put in the reps. So I think the more you, quote unquote, expose yourself to doing it, the more and the quicker you learn, rather than if you're sitting there waiting to become perfect, and then, once you feel it's perfect, then you step forward. That's going to take a long time. Like right now, I'm literally sitting here. I've never read these questions before, and I have not planned whatsoever what to answer, but I'm doing it. It's the first time of doing it. As you can hear, I'm making mistakes as well, language mistakes, grammar mistakes, but I'm doing it because I know that if I keep doing this, I'm going to get better every single time. And that reminds me of, I'm currently reading a book of Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins, he's now considered as one of the best public speakers in the world. And he would say that the only reason why I, got there so quickly was because whereas my peers were just doing, 2-3 speaking gigs a month, he was doing 40 a month. Yes, it's tiring, but you can imagine, if you're doing 40 every single month in the span of a year, at the end of that year, you're an expert at that, right? So you kind of have to expose yourself to feeling uncomfortable, making mistakes. It's completely fine. It's human. I think that it connects more to the audience to be real, raw, not planned, not scripted, than to try to be perfect and read from a script that I just created on ChatGPT. Just doesn't work. How do I pick a problem to solve that people actually care about? Very, very important question. So I think, a problem that people actually want to solve, obviously depends on the avatar, but you have to do your research. And your research can be done by asking in your community, your friends, people in your circle, going to Facebook groups, going through adding and joining relevant Facebook groups, and looking at the comments under, posts. What are people asking? What are people commenting? You'll see a pattern with time. The same goes for YouTube videos. Facebook, right? The comments, what are people on the internet saying? If they keep asking in WhatsApp and Telegram groups, we're often as sisters part of these various sister groups, and you'll see the same questions arising again and again and again. So how can I support my child in memorizing the Quran? If you see these questions again and again and again, it's often because there is a actual demand there. How do I stop sounding like everyone else? How do you stop sounding like everyone else? Be you. Be the authentic you. Be yourself. And that's why I always say to my clients, stay in your lane. Like, don't look, if you need to just not follow certain people because you're afraid that you'll just be kind of dragged along. I think Alex Hormozi calls it the lady in red. That's for entrepreneurs. They see this other idea. They see another entrepreneur doing something that he's successful with, and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go with that. And often that happens in content, in messaging, in positioning, in fonts, colors, style, right? Don't do that. Just stay in your lane. Be you. I put up my sales page on Stan Store, but nobody is buying. What am I missing? So how are you driving traffic to that sales page? Are you posting on Instagram? Do you use ads? It's important to understand that, if I open a store in the middle of Alaska, I assume there's no people there. There's bears. There's no people there. Or like some random place without people, then even though that store is open, it's a beautiful store, even the products that I'm selling are absolutely amazing, there's no traffic. You need to have traffic coming to your store, right? We understand it in the physical world and around us, but it's the same with your link, your Stan Store, your beacons, whatever provider you're using, software you're using, you have to drive traffic to it. So how are you doing that? Are you posting consistently? Are you ensuring that you have a clear CTA, like a clear call to action that leads to your sales page? Are you running ads to your page? You have to drive traffic to your page through your content creation. Do I need more people looking at my page, or is something on my page, or is it something on my page that's wrong? That's a good question. It really depends, because I would look at my statistics. Like, people will say like, oh, if you have a 2% conversion rate, then that's fine. So either you have to increase the amount of eyes on your page, the leads, in order to convert, or if you're having lower than that, then maybe there's something wrong with, if you're actually having a lot of leads to your sales page and you're not converting, then there's something wrong with your copy, right? Or even there might be something wrong with the setup of your page, right? But often it's the copy, it's the messaging, it's what you're saying on the sales page, it's just not landing. So if you've just created this random sales page with ChatGPT and just smacked it on there, that's not really gonna work. Are you using mock-ups? Think about it, in the digital space, right? There's nothing to touch. There's no tangible things to touch. So you have to make it tangible, make it look tangible. If you have a school community, where's the mock-ups? How does the school community look? What is the things that I get? What are the bonuses? Even if you have weekly calls, make it seen like, okay, there's this, on the calendar on school, you have the weekly calls. Make it more tangible, or else it just feels like I'm kind of buying air. So remember to make mock-ups, it's very important. How do I make people trust me enough to buy? So if you're doing, obviously with lower tickets, you don't need that much trust, because obviously there's a lower associated risk to the purchase, right? Like if I'm spending $10 on something, it's like, whatever. But if I'm spending 200, 300, 4, 5, 1,000, I feel a risk with it, right? And hence I'm more wary to, hey, should I do this or not? So I would, be yourself, be authentic, and then think about how you're creating trust through your content. The higher the price range, the more trust you need to create. And that can be done through free content, through showing value. And everyone says, show value, what does that mean? Well, honestly, I think that it's by doing longer form content, having a community where you actually share valuable things. So think Alex Hormozi, right? Every single day he's on giving you some value. He's doing short format, long format, and he's constantly giving value so that you just know that this guy knows his stuff, right? And then some people will say, yeah, but if you just do free stuff, then no one will ever, buy because you're just giving away free stuff. Okay, so then my question would be, if you are selling mid to higher tickets and you're faceless, you're not showing your face on there, and you're not posting every single day, how are you going to build enough? How are you going to reduce the price resistance? Because there's always going to be, price value. So my perceived value has to be much higher than the price in order for me to buy this thing. So how are you going to increase that if you're not creating any long format or giving value? How am I'm in your audience, going to believe that you know your stuff and you're able to really get me from A to B? I've been promised this 500 times before. I've been promised that I'm going to lose 50 kilos with other coaches. I've been promised that I'm going to make, $10,000 in X amount of time with other coaches. Why should I trust you? And yes, when I say value, there's so many ways of delivering value, right? It's not just, I don't even mean like sitting there and just being like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, do this. No, show value through your expertise, your insights, your aha moments, what worked for you and what didn't work for you. Show the ups, the downs. Show that you really know the insights into what works and what doesn't work. Give your audience quick wins and show that you honestly, really 100% confident can get them from A to be. So I think that is super important, especially with the quote unquote constraints that you have as someone who maybe wants to be more reserved, more private, less face forward. That is very important. If people click but don't buy, what does that actually mean? Click what though? I mean, like click the link. I have to understand the context. I didn't get the question, but I'm just gonna assume here that they click the link either on your bio or in your story sequence, and they looked at the page and they didn't buy. So yeah, there's something there, right? Maybe they didn't see the value. Maybe they have a lot of internal sort of resistance that your content did not push through. And maybe your messaging just didn't hit with them. So again, I have to understand the question better. Do I need testimonials before anyone will buy? I would say testimonials are so important. It's like a main part of your sales engine. You get more sales by having more testimonials. And when I say testimonials, I mean real testimonials. Not like, oh, you're so nice. Allah Mubarak, Jazakallah khairan sis. No, like actually you were able to take this person from A to B, right? And this person, these people that you've taken from A to B are within, I would say, the same identity frame as the people you're trying to sell to. Because if I'm trying to sell to you something right now, you're a Muslima, practicing mother, and I show you tons of testimonials that I helped, men, for example, men that are face forward and they have no kids, they're in their early 20s, it just doesn't associate with you. You don't have that emotional nor the identity connection to that person. So it's very important that your audience can see themselves in the person, in the people that you've taken from A to B. So I'm just gonna follow through with the question then. It's like, okay, how do I get testimonials, Fatima? I don't have testimonials. Well, do a few people that you take on as, trials, right? You take her on for free or at a very low rate in exchange for testimonials. And it honestly is so beneficial because it allows you to get better at what you do as well. You'll see through that journey what works, what doesn't work, what should you double down on, what should you that's not necessary. It's gonna make you become more efficient as well. So I highly recommend that. How do I price without feeling bad about it? I would ask you, why do you feel bad? Do you feel bad because you're transacting, you're taking money from someone in exchange for a service? Do you feel bad if you go to a shop and you give them money in exchange for something? I don't think you feel bad because you were happy buying that thing. Why are you going to feel bad when you're asking for money in exchange for your time, hard work, experience, the transformation that you're inshallah going to be able to provide to this person? I think it's a very interesting question. And honestly, I hear it a lot. So it's not a strange question whatsoever. It's just that maybe I'm not able to relate to it. And maybe I'm not understanding what makes you feel bad. Because if I am 100% confident in my offer, 100% confident that through this offer, the person will be able to go from A to B, and I have a price that I know is under the value, then I'm not gonna feel bad about it. I'm probably gonna feel bad about it if my price is higher than the value. If I'm selling things that are just horrible and taking a high price for it. But I'm 100% sure that I'm not doing that, and so should you be, right? Like being very confident in the value you deliver, you're not gonna feel bad. What if my audience feels like they don't have money? Like they don't have money. If your audience don't have money, well, you attracted the wrong audience. And it's very easy to attract the wrong audience if you don't have the right content strategy, if you don't have the right messaging strategy, if you don't have the right positioning strategy. And that's the thing, unfortunately, a lot of the advice, I would say like 95% of the advice that you see on Instagram, it's optimized for views, not for purchase. So you're following this advice and it's getting you views, it's getting you followers, it's getting you all of the mashallah, this is so great, but it's not converting because it's not the right advice for you. So that goes back to not having had the right content strategy. How do I raise my price without scaring people off? Oh, that's a good question. I would say the more testimonials you have, the more you can raise your price. The more you're able, the more people you're able to help get from A to B, and you can prove that, and you can show that, hey, I have a established track record of getting people from this point to that point, the more you can increase your price. But obviously, there is going to be kind of a price ceiling somewhere, and then, we could go into the details of like a price strategy, but obviously you also kind of have to know what the price ceiling is and kind of, okay, so let me give you an example of that. Back 2 years ago, there was these MRR courses, master resale rights courses that were going around in the market. And they were usually always priced at what? $500, right? You remember that, $500 or $499. So a lot of sisters got into that, a lot of people got into that, and because that price was so standardized, it kind of shaped the perceptions of people of what pricing really should be. So a high ticket was considered $499, which it's not whatsoever. A high ticket is, in coaching, it's like $3,000 plus. But this thing just destroyed, the understanding, the mentality of people. And what happened was that if anyone came with their offers, their private coaching, their much better courses, or their programs higher than this price, all the sisters would be like, oh, I just paid $499 for this course. It's a high ticket. How can you take more than that, right? There was something that happened in the entirety of the market because of the conditioning of these widespread courses. So we have to understand our market, pricing in the market, competition. We have to understand the psychology of the particular avatar that we are targeting. But I would say more testimonials, you have a proof of concept. How do I talk about my offer without making every post about buy my thing? Yeah, that's a good one. So here's where I would say that if you have a proper, I don't like to say the word funnel, but you can call it a flywheel in place, then that's never going to be a problem because you're not talking about your offer. Well, we're talking about mid to higher tickets now, but you're not necessarily talking about your offer every single day on the front end because you're just funneling people through a flywheel that ensures that they get the value and they naturally kind of convert themselves at one point if you've set it up properly. So you don't have to talk about your offer on the front end, right? You're just funneling people either to a school community or some other form of on YouTube or somewhere where they can see long format content, or they can get a podcast, listen to you longer, or somehow understand that and see the authority and understanding of your market that you're carrying. And through that process, when it's properly set up, they convert themselves. the right type of people. How do I talk to one real person, not everyone at once? Well, I always tell my clients to create this ideal customer profile, an avatar, and kind of name her and understand her psychographics. So what keeps her up at night? What time of the day does she have that meltdown? Exactly how did that happen? And really picture her and know all of her desires and pain points and picture her every time they make content. So they're not talking to everyone. This is very hard. It's so easy to say, but people naturally just kind of lead towards speaking about everything else and trying to speak to everyone. And one day feeling like this, so I'm going to speak to this person. And one day feeling like that, so I'm going to speak to that person. That's not going to work. But it's easy for me to say, right? But it's hard to do. But try that. Try to really know who you're speaking to. Like almost like it's a friend. Like if you're going out the door right now and you know that you're meeting your friend Aisha versus you're going out the door to meet your grandmother, right? You would have a very different approach to speaking to Aisha versus speaking to your grandmother, correct? So always know who you're going out the door for and who you're going to meet and speak to. I've been posting for months and nothing changes. What do I fix first? Well, there's this, everyone has heard this, but Einstein said that if you're doing the same, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different outcome. So I'd say you have to cut off what you've been doing because you've been doing it and it didn't lead to anywhere. So you have to change what you're actually doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, because you're just like randomly grabbing strategies here and there, you need to actually invest in learning how to actually do the right things. So a lot of people have this resistance towards investing in their business, which I find is so strange because you've never studied marketing, you never studied sales, you never studied building funnels, sales psychology, buyer psychology, you never studied any of it. And then you think that you can just take this random thing that you saw on Instagram on how to make content, this 3-second reel, and that's going to be your marketing strategy or somehow. I'm not sure what's going on, but I would say I would just stop doing what I'm doing that's not working and go to the people that actually know what I should be doing, and I'd be doing that. How do I stop switching my niche every few weeks? How do I stop switching my niche every few weeks? Again, it's what we said about the 5 Ps. The 1 P is plan. If you have a proven plan, if you have a proven blueprint, if you have the plan that you know, and you have proof that many sisters have followed this plan and they've gotten results, then you have to stick to the plan. Obviously, it's adapted to your niche, to who you're talking to, etc. But stick to one thing. You can't expect instant results. Like, okay, I'm going to do this for like 2 weeks and then suddenly I'm a millionaire. That doesn't happen. How do I rebuild momentum after feeling stuck? I feel like you get stuck and you feel demotivated because you don't have anyone in your corner. So I'd say be in a community of like-minded people. Step into the rooms of the people that you want to become. So be around the people that are motivating you and that are doing the same things as you. So being in a business network or a community of like-minded sisters doing the same things, all of these things can be very motivational. And every time you feel like, I just want to give up, you have someone there who are a few steps ahead of you, who's like, okay, I have been there as well. What I did in that particular moment was A, B, and C. I feel like I'm doing everything, why no results? Well, I don't know what you're doing, right? But the problem is doing everything is not a good thing either. And that's why you have a proven plan and you stick to it for a year. So you have to have someone who's guiding you, someone who's been there before, who has overcome the hurdles that you're about to meet. It's easy to plan for the battle, right? I'm planning for the battle, I'm going to war. But once you meet the enemy on the actual ground, it's a very different scenario, right? We can all make the perfect gym program. It's the best program in the world, and you can go to the best gym in the world, meaning the best equipment, and wow, the size is amazing. But if you don't have the right mindset and you actually show up and you actually have someone there with you who is pushing you through, it's very easy to just be like, no, this is just too much for me. So you need accountability. You need support. You need someone to guide you. And a guide is usually someone who's achieved the outcome that you want and has a proven record of helping other people achieve that outcome as well. Now, when you're trying to do things yourself, you're going to do everything. And you're going to waste your time doing a bit of that, doing a bit of this, and then feeling frustrated because nothing really clicks. And then you're going to start doubting yourself. And then in the end, you say, قدر الله ما شاء فعل, just this wasn't for me. When in fact, you just didn't take the right tools. You didn't take the right strategies. How do I know if I should pivot or stay in this? I don't know the context. So should you pivot or not? Very hard to say without the context. But I would say that pivoting makes sense if, well, it really depends on the circumstances, but it might make sense to pivot. It might not make sense. Maybe what you're currently doing just isn't working because you don't actually have the right tools and you haven't set in place the right systems. So now you think that because you're not seeing results with this, that you have to pivot in order to see results. When in fact, the problem is just you could have fixed a few things here and there, and then this would have worked out amazingly. And this is why having a guide is very important. What do I say when someone asks, how much is it? So these messages, if you get these messages in your DMs, so let's say you've actually laid out, like, this is my offer, this is my value proposition, this is why you should grab it. Now, if you've done that and you get messages in your DMs, I would say there's something wrong, because that just shows me that either you don't have a proper funnel in place or, engine, a flywheel, or you have all the right sort of how to get them from A to B, but people, they get stopped and they DM you rather than taking the action buying decision. And that is probably because your messaging is off. So again, value, price. Value should be here, price here. But when it starts being like this, and people start hesitate and they're like, how much is it? And then they start asking for discounts. They start saying, oh, fi sabilillah, can I have a discount? Can I this, can I that? That means you have a price that seems higher than the perceived value. So work on the perceived value before you start working on the price, because there's probably something here lacking. Work on your offer. An offer is not just, some sisters think that the offer is, my digital program, I'm a Quran teacher, I have X classes with students. I take them from beginners to intermediates. That's not your offer. That's just your program. That's just your delivery. Your offer is the entire package. It's the entire package. Think about if you want to give a gift to someone and you have this beautiful box, beautiful, and it has these bows on top, and inside there's like a small thing, but it's really valuable, but it's super small in the middle, and then it has like this beautiful paper. And then think about the journey in which you're taking this gift, what kind of experience you're giving while giving this gift to your loved one as well. So I don't know, like a guy who gives it to his wife, and he has like candles on, it's all romantic, and all of the entire experience, that is your offer. Not just the small part that's inside, it's the entire experience you're giving this other person and the perception this person has of this entire experience, okay? So this is very important. Do you really have an offer, or do you have a program? Do you really have an offer, or do you just have a program? How do I follow up without feeling annoying? Following up without feeling annoying. If it's like I would say you only follow up because this person generally wants this thing but needed to fix a few payment, details, or that this person honestly wants this, and you're just following up to, if this happens that you keep having to follow up with people randomly, or like, oh, I feel follow up here, follow up that. there's something wrong. I wouldn't waste my time following up. I would work on what's actually wrong. My perception. Do I have an offer or a program? The sales process, right? So don't waste your time following up. If you get a lot of those, like I have to follow up, don't waste your time on that. Work on what's actually going on. So we have the root cause, right? And then we just have sort of the symptoms. You're just working on the symptoms right now, wasting your time on the symptoms. The root cause has never been cured. Cure the root cause. What if they want a discount? If they want a discount, again, root cause, symptoms. Go back to the root cause. There's a problem there. If people keep asking about discounts, can have it fi sabilillah, there's something wrong with your offer, with your messaging, with your positioning. And that was, a lot of these other questions are similar. So that's the breakdown of all the questions. And that's all we had for today. That was all your questions. And I see you guys in the next episode.